no sé, es que no sé, pues te diría que hicieras lo mismo que...
Voy a poner público ya, listo.
Listo. How's everyone doing? This is going to be the first day of our live week, so we're going to be live every day throughout this week at this hour, which is, if I'm not mistaken, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's 1:30 p.m. for us here in Bogota. And I think we've done, I guess I did like just 1 week prior to this one that we did live. And what we tried to do was share our references with you guys. So if you wanted to, you could paint along, or if you just wanted to see what I use as reference when I do some of my paintings, just to see how I distort the forms and how I interpret color. There's going to be a lot of that today. You guys can download that photo and you can look at it while I'm painting, or you can just, give it a shot yourselves. So Danny is going to be helping me out moderating today, and throughout this week. And if you have any questions, just ask her and she will let me know. For today's painting, we're going to paint one of those really nice 19th century vintage photos that I love to paint. Because I love the subject matter of those photographs. They're usually like super cool, very formal, sometimes highly formal, like today's photograph. Images of contemporary painters at that moment. So the one that we're gonna work with today is Nadar's photo of Manet, and I think it's really, really nice. And it gives us a chance to be super expressive. Well, perhaps not today, super expressive, but super expressive in the future, in the upcoming days, with our use of color. So for today, we're gonna do something very, very controlled, a super, super controlled earth palette. If you guys have trouble with color, if you guys have trouble dealing with hues because you feel like you're using a wide variety of hues, or with saturation, the high chroma of color, you can start with this palette, which is really, really nice. It's actually even simpler than a Zorn palette. It's a far more neutral 4-color palette. So I'm going to explain it. We're going to use titanium white, obviously. We're going to use raw sienna for a yellow, so it's a very deep, earthy yellow. We're going to use a red ochre for a red. It could be any earth red, Venetian red, any sort of, what else is there? Mars red, Indian red, any sort of earthy, opaque-ish red you can use. The more expensive ones, the more natural earth reds, tend to be far less tinting. So if you feel more comfortable with a natural red, they're a little more expensive. You could use that. I'm using a red ochre, an Old Holland red ochre, which is very nice. And for our darkest hue in this palette, we're going to use ivory black. So if you think about it, it is a Zorn-ish palette with no accent, because instead of yellow ochre, we're using raw sienna. We're sacrificing the light that yellow ochre gives us. This is a far darker pigment. For a red, that's where we're sacrificing the accent of chroma, because we're not going to have cad red. We're going to have an earthy red. And we're not going to have, if this were a primary color palette, we're not going to have a blue, which you guys know that I love my ultramarine blue, which would be over here. No, we're going to use that ivory black as our kind of blue hue. So again, just to sum things up, titanium white, raw sienna, an earth red, I'm going to be using red ochre, and ivory black. So let's get to it. Danny's going to put the photo that I'm going to be using right next to the palette. Yeah. And let's go. I'm not going to do a drawing, like an underdrawing for this one. I want to be bolder. Firstly, because I don't really know what I want to compose. I know I don't care that much about the legs. I love, I love if I could put the hands in, and I love the sleeve. I love that, his left sleeve, our right, and I really like the head. So maybe I'm going to make the head a little bit bigger. Maybe I'm going to cut off this arm. It's going to, I'm going to crop it, and it's going to be kind of weird, just so I can do this arm. So maybe it's like a strange painting, but I want to see if I can pull that off. I'm also, for today's painting, I'm not going to use any medium, so raw paper, no medium, and just, a very earthy regular palette. So let's do this. That's black and a bit of that red ochre. I haven't used this palette in a while, so I don't really know what to expect. I'm gonna probably blindly find my way through this painting throughout the session, so let's see how we do. And, this is something that I usually do with some of my paintings. If I can't, if I can't fit something in, I'll just make it fit. So this is usually one of the troubles that I have, because in this dimension paper, I would love to paint this head about that size. Kind of like head and beard, and the shape of the beard. I would love for it to be that size. But the thing is, if I do a head that size, then that arm just goes off the page and then has to travel back into the page. So I'd be cropping here and here, and I don't know, I think that's like unnecessary tension. So unfortunately, I think I have to sacrifice a little bit of that, or I would have to do like a really big head, like NBA Jam style big head, and I would have to fit, the body in, but it would look a little ridiculous, I feel. So let's try to find a happy medium. If I could just distort it a little bit without it compromising the pose. Let's see. And again, I'm not really thinking about kind of like a really nice drawing now. I think I'm going to find my way through the execution of the painting. I'm just traveling through my painting, trying to see what's going to fit best with what I want to do. I don't want to sacrifice this arm. It's so nice. It's so nice that that I don't know if I'm willing to sacrifice it just to have like a bigger size portrait. So maybe that's going to be nice. Maybe that's going to be fine. I'm going to have my hand with the knuckles right there. And this one I don't care that much for. That hand right here. I mean, I'm going to paint it, but I don't know if I'm going to worry too much if my elbow gets cropped off. This would be horrible composition, traditionally, to crop off something at a joint. But I think I can kind of make it work. So let's see. So I think that's going to be fine. That's going to be fine too. I think we're going to be good. Maybe slightly tip the head right there. I think we're going to be good. And like I said, if something's not working, I'll just kind of inch my way towards it. This is going to be a fairly simple painting in the sense that we have so very little variables that there's not a lot of places that we can go. And that's the beauty, I guess, of a Zornish palette, or an earthy Zornish palette, earthier Zornish palette. So let's see how we do with that. Dime.
Albert is asking if you have ever painted it on a digital medium.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not good at it, but I can paint in Photoshop. It takes me a longer time than people that already know, already have their hotkeys like set up. I don't know how to do that. So I approach it as if it were a traditional medium. I even do my paintings, and I'm referring to my paintings to a bunch of paintings that I did for a bunch of background paintings that I did for an animation short. I did those, and I would paint them on one layer. I always tell the story that they were so not mad at me, but they were just shocked that I was doing everything at one layer. But of course, for any digital sort of work, it serves no purpose to do things in one layer, because one of the advantages that digital has is that you can make changes very, very easily. And not for me, because I was an idiot, and I had everything on one layer, so when they asked me to change the sky, I was like super purist about it. And I would say like, well, if I change the sky, every single relationship in my painting I have to change, so it's gonna take a long time. And they were like, no, you know, you should be doing like a background a day, and if there are changes to be done, they have to be very easy to do, you know, very, very easy to execute. So that part of working, you know, in a digital medium, with a digital medium, in a sort of project that demands that you're very efficient, that I'm sadly not good at. So I think the first painting that they gave me to do, they told me, okay, let's do this one as a trial painting, and I was like, yes, you know, totally, I'm totally up for it. I'm 100% up for it. And I did that one, I think, in 3.5 days, maybe 4 days, and it looked really nice. Like, I think objectively, it looked really, really nice. But they were like, this is really good, but we need this in like, you know, not even half the time. Like, you really have to do this in 1 day. And I was like, oh my God, a day? So I don't think I got any better at painting. I just worked more every day to try to get those paintings done in a single day. But it was clearly not a matter of me being more efficient about it. So, sí, dime.
Adam asks, well, he says, love your work, Nicolas. What
Thank you.
comes after our painted lives? And there's another question that is from Julius that says, will the live streams be a regular thing now, or is it just for this week?
So, we would be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we can kind of start talking about this, because I think it's okay. It's already October, so we're only going to have a couple of months left in what is essentially, you know, going to be the end of this project as we know it. But, you know, we've been talking a lot with Danny, and we are going to shift the project into something that's a little bit different. One of the toughest things about the project is to the time that we both spend either editing, you know, the whole video like Danny does, and me having to edit the voiceovers, which are my bane of my existence. So the only thing that could make that a little bit easier is if we didn't have to edit so much. And we thought, well, if we do live videos, that would be cool, because we don't have to do all that editing. But we also thought of something that, for me, it's going to make me very happy, and I'm just going to hint at it. I think it's going to be good. Danny's looking at me like, don't say it, because if we say it out loud, she has to commit.
No.
But our project is going to change in the sense that it's going to be now, I mean, it's always been formally our project, but now we're going to work together. So now you guys are going to see also Danny's work, and what we are going to do is sort of do a visual correspondence between us, and we are going to, you know, I don't know, propose a theme, and for Danny, 1 day a week, she's going to do like a painting or an image or whatever it is, and she's going to share it with me, and I have to take that image and then, you know, kind of like continue the story of that image. And we can take it anywhere. It doesn't have to be just paintings. It could be like sculptures or, you know, whatever. I'm probably going to paint most of the time. I don't know what Danny's going to do. I mean, if she wants to paint, that's, you know, if she wants to just paint, I mean, just painting is not like, it's an easy thing, but if she wants to paint, that's going to be awesome. But I think it's really nice, and I think it's going to be super cool that you guys get to know her also, because she has obviously been a super important part of everything that we do, and it's going to give her a chance to also work. And I think that we are such a really cool couple. I feel that what better way to to keep doing this than by changing a little bit the character of what we're doing right now, and shifting it into something that reflects us as partners, as a couple that we are, and as a creative couple that we are, which is really, really cool. So I think that opens up like a ton of opportunities, and it gives her a chance to not only do the awesome editing that she does and taking care of like every single logistical thing that we do in our project, but she's also gonna have a chance to work. She's very nervous about it because we spoke about it, and she was like, oh, so I have to do things daily, like like the our Painted Lives kind of characters, just to paint daily, to have like these daily exercises that prove to be super cool obstacles and challenges, and sort of excuses to rethink how we paint. And we came to this agreement that no, she doesn't have to work that way. So she's gonna do a painting, or let's call it a work, because it eventually has to be an image, but she has to do a piece every week. So she's gonna work once a week, which is also like a cool thing, because one of the things that we were always worried about doing these daily paintings was that I think that they are encouraging for people, but I also think that they can be kind of overwhelming. I think people can be like, okay, I clearly don't have the time to do a painting a day. It's kind of ridiculous that to set that expectation. So what can we do that doesn't require me to feel like, to be part of something, I have to be working every day of the week. And we thought that this could be cool. Like Danny's manner of working, her the way she manages time, the patience that she has when working, can be completely different from mine. And there's no point in trying to say that if you're quicker or if you can solve something faster, then it's better, because it's not. It's just different. There's nothing to be proud about when you just do something quicker. I mean, if you're working on like a video game industry or like the movie industry, yeah, those places pay you to work really quick. But if you're working for your own kind of personal satisfaction or personal growth, it doesn't matter if you take 8 days to do a painting, or if you take 80 days to do a painting. So that's gonna be super cool. Now, does that mean there's gonna be just that one video where we exchange things? No, I'm actually hoping that what we can do is to do live videos, which are really, really cool, because they give us a chance to interact with people. And I think that one of the things that we also kind of got worried with when we were doing the videos was that there's not a good sense of what painting feels like when you see a painting that's executed in like 15 to 20 minutes. You guys are probably having a way better sense of what painting feels like by just watching me here try to talk and paint at the same time. But this is like the speed of a painting. I mean, I could probably try to paint quicker. I would probably have to shut up. But if I'm painting and I'm trying to solve something, like this is a good speed, because I'm trying to think as I'm painting. And that's also important for us, because we want to show that kind of tempo and that rhythm that goes into a real painting. And to be honest, I mean, Danny and I used to, not argue, but I used to be an idiot that wanted to have every single video be real time. at the beginning, I told her I want everything to be real time. And she was like,
voiceover.
yeah, and I wanted to talk all the time, which if I'm doing live videos, I would have to talk all the time. I mean, not every single second of every single video, but then we reached a compromise where she was like, look, this is gonna be super hard. Don't do this. Just let's do like a 20-minute video every day. That's gonna be more than enough. And you'll see you'll see that people will be okay with that, and that's what we ended up kind of agreeing upon. But because I'm an idiot, I always had that thing in my head that I always wanted to just also share like a real-time painting experience, and it's really different to do a voiceover after you've done the painting and after you've reflected upon what you've done, as opposed to thinking out loud while you're painting. I think that's always tough. That's always very, very tough. So I figured, why don't we do some of that? Why don't we change the project into something that feels more akin to what painting feels like? We've talked and concentrated on the reflective act that accompanies the painting act. And what if we now say we are just going to be super true to what the painting act feels like? And I thought that was pretty cool. And there's a lot of people that have been hoping that they could accompany us real time, and they could ask questions real time when we've done our paintings. So, I think that that's what's going to end up happening. Again, we're spitballing here. We're thinking out loud. I think Danny's having like a huge anxiety attack because I already spoke about what we're going to do, and now she has to do it. There's no way out of that. But you guys can be super encouraging. You guys have been like super nice and generous with me this whole time, and all I would ask is that you can be as nice and as patient with Danny, and I think it's gonna be awesome. Like honestly, I don't even think she needs like this whole kind of prep talk, because she doesn't need because she's really good. She really is good, and for me it's just super exciting to know that I can be working alongside her in a, very simple, we didn't invent this, this kind of visual correspondence exercise is something that a ton of people do. But I think I would love to have this with Danny. So even though our Painted Lives has been our project in the sense that, we're both equal partners and we both work equally as hard to push the painting the project forward. I've ever since I met Danny, I've respected her as an artist, and I think she does things that are super different than what I do, which is really cool for the both of us, because I think we can push each other in ways that that we're not expecting from each other, and that's really nice. So I don't know, hopefully you guys enjoy what I'm describing. I think that's what we're gonna do, so you guys better enjoy it. but I think it's gonna be cool. I think if there was anything better than trying to keep this project alive in a creative way, it was trying to keep it alive as partners. So I think that's going to be super nice.
I'm a little bit behind with the question, so.
Bueno.
Esta dice, how are you guys feeling about the project? How have you both kept up the monumental determination and strength required? Any advice on sticking with a big hard thing?
We're just very stubborn. I think between the two of us, maybe I'm the more stubborn and Danny's the most organized, maybe. Like if she has a plan, she'll really, really stick to it. Like if we have agreed upon something, like she'll really, really stick to it. And I'm super, super stubborn. So I think the combination of those two things, and super stubborn in a good sense, like in the sense that, I know this is a mess right now, but I'm just finding my way. But super stubborn in a good sense, where you fight for the things that you believe in. And I think that the two of us have that mentality. And, you know, from the beginning, we told each other, well, we're going to keep doing this regardless. We have had to slow down a little bit, and you know, at the beginning I thought, oh, this is failing, you know, we failed ourselves and we failed like the people that are watching this, because we started, we took one video, one daily video out. So instead of doing the five videos that we were doing for like a year and a half, we started doing 4. And I was really, at the beginning I was really mad at myself. I was like, you know, I couldn't do it. It's one of those things that you're like, you start being super, super hard on yourself. And you know, it's so unfair to yourself to say those things. But I started telling myself, no, come on, just take like a week off, or like, you know, 2 weeks off, and just come back and do the things that you were, you know, that you originally thought that you were going to be able to do. And honestly, I just think we were very tired, and not tired of the project. I think we were just physically tired, because I think the physical aspect of this, it's very demanding. We hadn't done you know, anything, live videos. I mean, some of you guys know us from doing live videos on Instagram before, but we had never produced a video. We had never, like, you know, recorded a video and done voiceover, and then posted it on a YouTube channel. I mean, I had done a couple of those videos. You can still probably, if you go to the channel, you can still see those. They are the first videos, and they're super bad. They are terrible. They're really, really terrible. So, but we had no experience, so we had no idea what we were going up against. And woof, that part where you just, you know, it's a crash course, and you have to learn while you're doing it, it was very tough. So initially we were like, okay, this is what we have to do. And that first year, you know, 2020, we were like, okay, we're totally up for this. We're totally fine. There was a point that we were tired, but we were like, no, we're going to push through. And then this year, yeah, we started really well also. Super committed, as always. I'm just looking for a brush. But there was a point where we were both like, oh, are you tired? Because I'm like super tired. And we started taking like Fridays off, literally like Fridays off. And it's not like we take them off. Like, we would still have to work on other things. Like, Danny would still be editing, and I would still be doing like voiceovers. Or many times I would be doing paintings that I was, you know, that I had to do, like one of those monthly paintings that I had to do, or, you know, something else. But I was like, oh, I haven't done this, so I'm going to use this time to do this. Many times it was tough also because my kids were here. They were still having, school was still being done virtually, so they were still at home. And, you know, Fer asking me questions about her homework was still something that I would have to deal with and have time to, like, try to help her with. So, you know, we started using that time to just balance our weeks a little bit better. And it's proven to be super, super nice, to be honest. I mean, we are not working less, and if you want to see it that way, like, maybe we are working less, but we're earning less money, so we're taking the hit on that, you know, aspect, and we've decided that that's okay. You know, we've come to the realization that if we do that, like, we feel a lot better with ourselves. So yeah, so it's actually like a nice thing, because again, it's less money, but, you know, we've been doing super well. You guys have been just absurdly supportive and super generous and super kind. So in that sense, we can also say, okay, we're gonna, take one day off and try to just have some time for other aspects of our lives. Yeah, I guess, just to summarize, I guess it was just about being super committed, like blindly committed to a point where initially we didn't even know if we were going to do well, but even in those moments that were uncertain, we told ourselves we have to keep going. Like if we do badly, we have to keep painting and keep recording and keep editing and keep doing voiceovers as if we had done amazingly well. It doesn't matter. It's almost like having a show at a gallery. Like at some point you realize when you've done all the paintings, let's say you've worked for 2 years to have a show somewhere, at some point you realize the ability or the willingness to keep painting after this show cannot depend if I do well or not. Like it cannot hinge on that, because that can destroy you. Like if you do really, badly on a show, and you just convince yourself that the only reason you're going to keep painting was if you had sold out the whole, the entire show, then oof, those are some super high expectations, and that's not being realistic either. So there is always a moment when you're gonna have, when you're about to have that opening, where you kind of tell yourself, oh my God, this is it. And for me, it always helped me just saying to myself, regardless of what happens, as soon as this show is done, you have to get back to work. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you didn't do well, it doesn't matter. If you did super, well, doesn't matter either. You just have to go back to working. You have to. And that's what I would convince myself to do. And I think that that's a good way of also encountering projects like, like this one, not literally like this one, but where you just don't know exactly what's going to happen. You just have a feeling that you're up for it, and you don't know what the results are going to be, but you tell yourself, whatever happens, I'm going to keep doing this regardless. And thankfully, we started off in the right foot, and I think we've never kind of let go of that pedal. So we've done better than we could have ever hoped for or imagined. So that's very encouraging. That also makes the project a little bit easier. That obviously knowing that you're doing well, knowing that people are responding, knowing that people are sending us messages of how much, how meaningful this tiny little project has become to their kind of daily routines. That is amazing. I mean, that's a far better feeling than, selling any painting. Just having that tiny bit of sense that you are having a conversation with somebody, that's incredible. I think that's what's touched us, both really deeply, I feel, both Danny and myself. And that's why when we were talking, because we thought about it, we were like, okay, so we finished, we're done. And, I think we both came to the realization that what we both enjoyed most was just, having people, talking with people and having met people through this project. And that's what we are, that's what would be super hard to give up. And that's what we want to maintain, this kind of line of communication between awesome, painters or non-painters that, like what we do, and our project, which ends up being, yes, about, painting in this case, but it's honestly just about trying things out. I think it's about encouragement and finding possibilities in things that we once thought were, or we were hopeless at, or we were terrible at, or just taking, maybe living vicariously through somebody else's painting experience so we can get out of a really crappy moment we're stuck at. I think that's also been like a really nice thing that people have told us. It's like, I was super stuck on something, and then I watched you guys, talk about this thing or this aspect of painting or do a painting, and it really helped me out in my kind of like creative process. Dime, Linda.
¿Qué?
Pensé que me
No.
pensé que me ibas a decir algo.
No, si quieres te hago otra pregunta. Dice,
Si quieres, sí.
how important do you think linear drawing is? I feel like I've become more of a painter than a drawer recently, and I find it harder to sketch. Also, do you got any tips?
If you've seen me, it feels like I am of two minds, regarding that, because there are paintings that I start with a loose, very, very loose sketch. There are paintings that I've started with a tighter drawing. There are paintings that I've started with nothing, just kind of like massing in like today. And I think they all have their wonderful benefits, and they all have, their character, and they all can be incredibly valuable. I don't think it's a matter of having just a very set personality and believing that, oh, I am this type of person. If anything, I think we've been, or it's been something that we believe in, where, I think that's been at the DNA of our videos, where we really do believe that you can pretty much be or behave like very different, painters, let's say, depending on what your intent is for a painting. And I don't know, I think that's kind of like the most challenging but the most comforting, almost even, thing about this project, knowing that there are so many ways that you could approach something. There are so many roads that I had never conceived when I was painting, that this became a moment where I would give myself a chance to do things that I just wouldn't normally do in my regular painting. And I think that that's probably what I'm most grateful for. The fact that I have a space, this became a space where all these doubts that would creep in, and all these questions, and all these thoughts of, oh, what happens, what would happen if I do this, or if I try this out, were not just questions, but now now they could be excuses to do a painting. And I could try and see what happens, if I gave myself the opportunity, and if I didn't understand what would we traditionally call a bad painting, to not understand those as failures. Like, for me, it was so important to just say, hey, this painting was tough, and these are the reasons that it was tough to do, and that's it, and that to me started to become super, super valuable. So I don't know, in that sense, I think that we can teach ourselves to start to believe that we are not just one thing. I mean, sensibly we can be human beings that react with more closeness to some things, and we can reject others. That is totally, understandable. We're human beings, so you don't have to love absolutely every way to do a painting, and you don't have to be moved by every single way, that you paint. I think I always laugh when I get comments in my Instagram when people say, oh, this is, any day with any painting, there's bound to be a comment where somebody says, oh my God, I like the other paintings, but this one is my favorite. Like, this is my favorite of yours. And I always tell myself that's so cool, but it's something that I could never even conceive of doing if I tried. Like I could never even think of. I think that if I tried to do a painting that would appease everyone, or that everyone would like, or that people in unison could say, "Oh, this is a great painting," I would freeze. I would never be able to paint that. So it's really nice to realize that there are so many different things that we can do that can become something for so many different people. They can become like a spark for so many different people that it's really interesting. It's really nice. Many times I'll tell Danny, like, "Oh my God, I sucked today. It was terrible. I did the worst painting ever," and and Danny will like it, and then when we post it, there's tons of people like it, and that to me is confirmed something that I've always known to be true, which is that we never know. Like, we have no idea what people like. So spending a second, like devoting a second to thinking that we do, is just sometimes wasted time. We should just paint what we want to paint, and that's about it.
A lot of people view drawing as the foundation of painting. Do you think it's possible to be a better painter than you are at drawing?
A better painter than you are at drawing?
Like a better painter than a drawer, I think.
Oh. But the thing is, they're so intrinsically tied together that I think that there's no way you can separate them. Like, if you are thinking of a painting, the drawing can manifest itself in so many different ways in a painting that it's almost impossible not to think that there's drawing within a painting. I certainly can't, I can't do that. Like, if I have to try to, in very abstract terms, visualize what a painting without drawing would be, it's almost impossible, because the painted mark, like what I'm doing right now, a painted decision is a drawn decision. Choices have to do with drawing, especially choices that have to do with composition and design. Those are 100% tied to drawing. So thinking that the two of them could be in some way separated, it's very, very difficult to imagine. I think that that's one of the things that's highly improbable. I would just say that broaden your definition of drawing. When drawing feels like it's something that is very exclusive, try to broaden what you understand as drawing. What you hold the definition of drawing that you hold to be true, and you'll see that if you broaden that a little bit, which means, like, because what does that mean? Right? Like, broadening a definition. When something is defined, it has parameters. That's why it's a definition. But if you teach yourself how to understand that definition can manifest itself in very many different ways, then you're going to realize that instead of feeling like drawing was not part of this equation that you thought painting was designed for, you now realize that no, they are actually very much so tied together. What I don't like to do, and I think that that's a job for other people, because honestly it's a far more kind of like ethereal job, and it's super hard to grasp, and it has to do with people trying to push specific theses, is fighting, getting into an argument to see if something is or isn't a drawing. Like, those are the sort of things that I don't really enjoy at all. It doesn't matter. Like, I would just tell the person, okay, you win. It's whatever you want it to be, whatever you want to call it. That thing that you want to call it, I enjoy it. And that's it. Like, I just don't see how categorizing it is beneficial to us in any way, like it makes sense in any way. So I always go back to like cave drawings. You know, those could be paintings. Those, we refer to them as cave drawings because there's, you know, line work, but you know, but you could say they're frescoes. You could make an argument and say that they are actually kind of paintings. And who cares? Honestly, like who cares about those things? It doesn't matter. Like what would change? And what does it matter nowadays for us to define it in some way or another? If for the people that did those cave drawings, they didn't even have a word for drawing or for painting. So, you know, it's not like as if they were arguing in the caves of Lascaux saying, okay, these are drawings, but the ones in Altamira, yeah, those are paintings. No, come on, it's like two tribes, the drawing tribe and the painting tribe were already arguing at that point. No, it doesn't matter, like none of those things have ever mattered.
A ver, preguntan otra vez sobre lo de arte digital, pero a ver, espera, dice, what are your thoughts on digital art? Do you produce any? Eso ya lo dijiste, pero dice, any thoughts on NFTs?
I think I've spoken about this openly, but I don't have issues with NFTs in the sense that they became a sorry, I used up all my black, so now I have to take black out. Sí, me. No, aquí está linda. Ya, qué pena. I don't have issues with NFTs in the sense that, you know, that they are a new way of commercializing digital work or digital data, you know, because it doesn't necessarily have to do with art. Like, you know, you could buy a Topps LeBron James dunk for, I don't know what that one's worth. It's like $350,000, something like that. So, I have no issues with that, because that to me is just another way of collecting stuff. You know, that's exactly the same way we've collected paintings and sculptures, drawings throughout the years. Now, you know, this is another way that we collect other information. And that to me is great because I have, like, both Danny and I are friends. We have a friend that does super well with NFTs. And he does digital work, which is super nice. I mean, the really nice animated, you know, these really nice kind of animated loops. Pretty amazing, actually. And I'm super happy, like, I'll tell you right now, I'm the first person to be genuinely happy for him doing well. Now, the fact that, you know, those people that deserve to be recognized as wonderful artists because they had no other venues to show their work, and usually there were people that worked for big, you know, video game companies or studios, movie studios, and never got to show what they were capable of doing. The fact that they now have, you know, kind of like a virtual gallery to do it, or many times like a physical gallery to do it, it's amazing. It's well deserved. It was about time. That's awesome. Like I said, I'm the first person that's going to be happy with somebody who's hardworking and who does awesome work to be recognized. That's incredible. That's like a no-brainer to me. What I think is painfully true about NFTs, it's something that is no different than what happens in the regular art market. The thing is, it just happens at a pace that it's just ridiculous. Sometimes it's just very difficult to even try to digest. And I think that's what's most, you know, that's what shocks people, because if you really think about it, what was it, months, between NFTs becoming popular and then the market being just flooded, absolutely flooded with horrendous NFTs, horrendous bits of work. And this is not me just being judgmental about NFTs. No, there's horrendous works in the art market. The art market is flooded, it's absolutely inundated with horrendous works. And horrendous works that, are worthless, and there are also horrendous works that are overvalued, tremendously. They have just ridiculously inflated prices. So the way in which people invested in paintings or in sculptures or, let's say in Damon Hirst in the past, it's exactly the same way new collectors, new investors are investing in NFT artists. It's just about buying something and putting money aside and hopefully, believing that that money is going to become more money with the pass of time, and if it can become a ton more money in a very small span of time, then great. That I think that's the wish for every single person that collects art. And if it takes more time, then fine. But like I've always said, those market the way the market wants you to behave, that could be offset by buying something just because you enjoy it. That is like the perfect antidote to this avalanche of market of market speak of FOMO of everything that is telling you, oh my God, you have to do NFTs, or oh my God, you have to invest in NFTs. If you want to buy an NFT, do it because you love it, because you're gonna put it on your TV. You're gonna put your TV vertical and you're gonna put it on, and it's gonna look awesome, and you're gonna have like this work that you love to live with, and that's amazing. That's fantastic. I think that's at the core of buying and collecting art. Like that should be the first reason you buy something. It's because you like it. And then after that, if it proves to be a really cool investment, great, fine, good for you. But if you always do it for that first reason, where you're buying it just for yourself because you just love to look at that damn thing every morning, and when you sit down and have tea or coffee or whatever in front of it, you think about things and you have clarity, or it just poses questions that are awesome, to ponder. That's the role of art. Art has no other role in life, to be honest. Art is absolutely unnecessary in every single other aspect of life. So I don't know, NFTs for me then do two things, two completely separate things. They were a venue. They were a new venue. They proved to be a new venue for people that had no way of socializing their work, aside from posting it on ArtStation or some Reddit forums or whatever. But this, now they have the chance to get to a ton of people through their work, literally a ton of people, because it is a digital data. You can make an addition. You can make additions of whatever number you want. It doesn't really matter. It's not dependent on your ability to produce that addition. So that's really wonderful. That's actually super cool. But so on that, in that sense, great, amazing. And like I said, a very good friend of ours. He does incredibly well, and super happy for him. Like, well deserved, well earned, amazing. But what it also uncovered about the art market and about investment and collecting, it's something that's always been part of the art market. It's just that we just saw it we just saw this life cycle of it so quickly that it was like on steroids. It was like the art market on steroids. And that's kind of scary to be, to know that that's the reality is one thing, and then to just experience it, to know that that's literally what's going on at a pace that you've never ever seen before. It is kind of scary. It is really, really scary. So I don't know. I don't know what the future of that is going to be, to be honest. So we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. I just think it's going to be another way of commercializing art. That's all it's going to be. I don't think it's the future. I just think it's another way to do things, and that's about it.
Do you know the palette Jose Rivera used?
Jose Rivera? I'm not super certain. I'm sure that it has to be a very, very earthy palette. So he has to have some sort of yellow, like obviously lead white, some lead tin yellow for sure, because that's a very Baroque color that was used for sure. Some yellow ochre. There had to be earthy yellows, so there had to be something akin to yellow ochre or raw sienna, and then a bunch of reddish earth tones, which are probably vermilion. Well, vermilion would be the accent, but I'm guessing he probably used vermilion. I'm guessing that he used some sort of burnt sienna-ish color, or some sort of burnt umber-ish color, or some sort of an earth red, like an opaque earth reddish color. And probably lapis lazuli for the blues, for sure, and black,
¿Cuál fue el primer
Ivory
amarillo
black.
que dijiste ahorita? Que alguien dijo que no alcanzó
The
a
first
entender.
yellow that I said, lead tin yellow. That's a very Baroque color, lead tin yellow. It's a really beautiful, there's only a few people, a few companies produce lead tin yellow nowadays. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. And a bunch of painters, tons of painters during the Baroque used that yellow. It's like Naples yellow became the replacement of lead tin yellow. Just so that it gives you an idea of what sort of yellow we're talking about. Obviously, a yellow with a ton of body, had a bunch of lead in it, so what they would do is they would use that yellow and then glaze like earth yellow on top of it, and they would make these really beautiful kind of rich yellows that way, because they didn't have anything like a cadmium yellow at that point. So
Camille, no sé, asks, how do you handle the physicality of paint?
I'm guessing you're talking about the paint as pigment, maybe. Hopefully I'm not off in assuming that. I love it, and that's the reason that I don't use medium, and that's the reason that I don't prime my paper, and that it becomes a horribly absorbent surface. It makes everything dull. It makes everything kind of nasty. It's there's always that moment where the painting looks really nasty. It just looks like it's going nowhere, and then suddenly you can start putting paint on top of paint, and it just behaves super, super beautifully. I love that. I absolutely love that about paint. To me, paint has to feel something that you struggle with. I know that makes no sense. I know, for example, that the reason that we use mediums and that we use that we prime our surfaces is so that the surface can receive the paint and be as welcoming as it can be, and the medium is there just to make us help us handle the paint better and help the paint adhere to the surface a little bit better. I know that's the reason that those things that humanity worked so hard to uncover those things, and we've been using those teachings for centuries, and in no way I'm diminishing the value of that. It's just that I want something different from my painting, because I've recognized who I am as a painter, and I've noticed that my sensibility is one that kind of pushes me to want to struggle with putting down paint. I think that there's a sense of urgency and a sense of just battling with the surface that I really, really enjoy, and that lack of control that I have, or that, that battle, or that battle for that sense of control, or that illusion of control that you get from painting something where you don't really know how painting is going to behave exactly. It's just so, attractive to me. It's so beautiful that I don't know. That's when I realized I need to paint this way. Like, I found a way that is really compatible with my sensitivity. And, it couldn't have been any easier. And I hope it doesn't feel that I'm being dismissive, or that I'm being short-sighted, or that I'm being, or that I'm not, willing to accept that there are easier or better ways to paint, or ways to paint that wouldn't create the problems that a painting executed like this would create for me. I totally understand those things. It's just that I made my choice. Like, I am at peace with those things. So I'm pretty happy with that. Que se ríe.
Es que están diciendo que quieren ver lo que hago ya, pero me van a...
So Danny was super nervous at the proposal of working together, and I told her she has nothing to worry about, because we do things that are so different that, it's not gonna make any sense to try and compare what we do. And I think we are far more valuable when we are using what we do together than when only one of us is working. So I think we are much cooler if we are working together than if it's just me kind of pushing paint around. And the reason that I think that is because I think that that's the healthiest way to do things. I mean, if what we do with this project kind of cements the philosophy that we have, where we really believe that there are so many wonderful ways of doing things, and it is nice to grant yourself the right to try those things, at some point. That I just think it'll fit nicely. It'll fit beautifully to see two separate ways of working. And they are separate ways of working, but we are going to be connecting them via whatever theme-ish we suggest with the images that we do. So I think that, next year I think that I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna do one painting where I send it, where I do it and I kind of send it, quote unquote, send it to her, because I don't have to send it to her. She's like right next to me. But she's gonna see it on, let's say, Saturday. So we'll have like a live session on Saturday where I tell her, okay, this is what I painted, this is what I wanted to do. And I'm in no way trying to condition what she's going to do. I'm just kind of explaining what I did. And then Danny on the next Saturday is gonna, show us her work, which is gonna be like an answer to my painting. And then, she's gonna talk about what she was trying to do, and which, by the way, she feels like super intimidated speaking in English, and she is very good speaking in English. So don't give her a hard time. I think she speaks wonderfully well, and
or maybe not.
or just have patience with both of us. And just show her the exact same amount of patience that you've shown me, and I think we'll be perfectly well. We'll do really, really well. And so Danny would show me that painting on Saturday, and she would speak about, she would talk about it. And then I would take that painting as a starting point, not literally that painting, to do next painting. So in theory, we're just going to be having this visual conversation, this weekly visual conversation that can be super, super cool, I feel. And it's a really good way for us to not compare our work, to not say, oh, there's a theme this week and you did this and I did this and yours is so much better than mine, you know, I could feel bad, you know, looking at my painting and saying, oh, Danny did so much better, you know, this week. And because that, you know, we want to be encouraging with each other. I don't want to look at, you know, something Danny did and say, oh, I don't want to work this week. I don't want to work anymore because, you know, you did such a cool painting. No, the idea is to just push each other, but do it in a very kind of healthy, cool way. So hopefully, I mean, that's the plan, right? And I think that the plan sounds super cool. We'll see what happens with the execution. But I really believe that the execution can be awesome. I really do think that we can be like super cool in that sense, and we can do kind of really interesting work. And like I said, our work is going to be very different from one another, so that's also going to be amazing because, you know, I wouldn't want to do something with somebody that does the exact same thing as myself. That would be incredibly boring. That would just be redundant, and we would never kind of get out of that same loop. And well, that can be fine, and I'm sure there's couples in the art world that feel super comfortable if their work is very similar to their partner's work. That's totally fine if they found somebody that can echo their sensibility like perfectly. That's awesome. You know, awesome. I want to reiterate that. That's super cool. But I think Danny and I are sufficiently different that you know, maybe, you know, we start doing, or maybe until we feel comfortable, until we kind of get a grasp on what we're trying to do, you know, we're probably going to do work that is kind of starting from what the other person proposes. But I'm sure that at some point we're going to just let loose and maybe we could do some really interesting things. So yeah, so that's our hope, and we really do hope you guys can come along for the can come along for the ride, because I think it's about time that Danny is also, you know, visually part of this project, because this project just wouldn't be if it wasn't for her. So yeah. Hopefully you guys find that to be interesting. We think that it's super interesting. We don't think that that's something that there's a lot of people doing right now. So, you know, I can't think of a channel that it's devoted to something like that, or that part of what they're doing is kind of has to do with that. So, you know, it just makes it interesting. And like I said, I think we've always seen ourselves stronger as a couple than, you know, us as individuals. So if we can do this to remind ourselves of that, and to, you know, have a creative exercise that can, you know, that can really be satisfying for both of us and can push us both in, you know, kind of cool different directions, that's awesome. I think that's really amazing. I would love to have that opportunity, or to be able to share that opportunity with nobody else but Danny. So that's it's really cool. We'll see how we do. Again, I think it sounds amazing. Watch how the first week it sucks. It's terrible. It's like the worst idea ever. But oh god, I had that finger and now I have to paint it again. But I believe in it. I really, really believe in it. So I think that we can make it work. I trust ourselves to make it work. So
yeah, but I was gonna say that I'm not nervous because of you, or like comparison, but because I am a very private person. So I never show what I do. Like,
are you guys able to listen to Danny? Just confirm, because if not, she's gonna be talking there for like 10 hours. And
but yeah, I'm nervous because of that, because I never show what I do. I never think it's enough. I'm always like working and working over and over a painting or a drawing or whatever, because I'm nervous it's never finished. So I think it's gonna be a very good, ¿Cómo se dice?
Challenge.
Challenge for me too. So thank you
Re-
everyone.
Rito.
¿Rito? ¿Qué es
Reto.
eso? Sí, no me puse rojo.
How was your English? It was great. It was fine. It's super good. Yeah, better than mine.
Maybe nobody's listening.
Nobody heard.
Yeah. A ver, acá preguntan. A ver. No encuentro preguntas. Alguien dice, who's Danny?
Who is Danny? No.
Pero bueno, acá alguien.
No, but no. For those of you who don't know, like I was saying, oh no, you never watched the channel. No, Danny's my partner. We've been together for 5 and almost a half years now. We're very happy together. She's incredible. She's amazing. She made my life better. You know, I'm just laying it super thick right now. But no, she's you know, Danny and my kids are the most important people in my life, and we, you know, I think that together we are super cool. We're awesome as a couple. It's one of those people that you find in life that you go like, okay, you know, this was the person that I'm meant to be with. I think we are those people. You know, we are that couple with Danny, and Danny, if you guys don't know, Danny is taking care of all the production part of Our Painted Lives, everything that has to do with logistics, everything that has to do with editing. So if there's a bad editing, that's also her fault. But everything that's good about it, it's her. And we always think things through with her. Like it's never, oh, I'm gonna do this, and that's what's done. Even though I am very stubborn, but we always kind of run it through each other. Yeah, she's the other half of this project, like literally the other half of this project. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be capable, or you know, physically capable, or mentally, emotionally capable of doing any of this. So, yeah. So if it wasn't for Danny, we wouldn't have a single video. Or I'm gonna say, yeah, you would have videos, but they would have the quality of the first ones in our channel, the very first Our Painted Lives videos that you can go back and check, and you'll see what the world was without Danny editing, and the world is far better with her. So
Vincent says that
Vincent.
No, yes.
Vincent.
Danny, aren't you stressed that Nicolas will turn your great start into mud? And yes, I am. Increíble, pero sí. A ver. Ay, la gente es muy linda.
Vincent, I hope my Manet is looking French enough. I think he, you know, the pose, it's from a Nadal photo, so yeah, so you know, there's no chance in hell that I can mess this up. But I'm hoping that, you know, it looks like very, well, actually my hope, I'll be completely honest with this, and my hope is that it could be obviously never as good, because Manet was an absolute genius. He's one of my favorite painters ever. But I adore the sketches of Manet. I adore them when, like the loose Manet, oh my God, you know, genius, absolute genius. So I'm hoping that it looks like a very loose sketch. So hopefully there's some of that in here, some of that.
La gente, la verdad, está diciendo cosas súper bonitas mías.
Muy bien. Me alegro mucho. Me alegro.
A ver. Si quieres hablar como de la...
¿Hablo? A ver.
Sí, de algo.
Diga algo. Danny's telling me, just say something. Just keep it going. Say something. No, I guess this is a good point to speak where we're at with the painting. I was struggling a little bit to try to find. It's very strange because I was going to say to find cohesion in what I was doing, which makes no sense really if you really think about it, because the palette is just. Look at the palette. I mean, there's no way you can do something that's wrong with this palette. There's absolutely no way that you can mess this up. That is like the virtue of these sort of very analogous palette. In today's case, like a very earthy analogous palette. There's no way in hell that you can mess this up. And yet, we always find ourselves in places where we're like, that's not what I wanted to do, that's not what I wanted to say, or the painting is not really gelling. I always go through those moments in my paintings. I think that I've grown accustomed to that feeling, and I've taught myself how to be super patient about it. And if I know that I've been working, kind of heading to the right direction, I always tell myself, just keep going. It just hasn't happened yet, but you can, kind of keep hacking at it, and it'll eventually just make sense. Like every one of those decisions that you've been putting down is going to feel like it's a part of a bigger whole, at some point. And I think I was at that point a little bit ago, where I was like, this is like nothing. There's no semblance of a painting right now, and it really bugged me. But like I said, I think that it's really interesting when you just keep going. You tell yourself, just keep at it. It'll show up at some point. And it's not about just blindly keeping at it. No. You're always adding to something. You're always questioning what you're doing. And I think that's super important. A ver. But thank you. Danny was saying that you guys are being super nice to her. And honestly, she's earned it in the sense that she's worked crazy hard for the project that we have. But I always feel like we have to challenge ourselves also. Like, we have to earn this in the future too. Like, next year, we have to earn what we're doing again. And it's going to be cool. Like, I love that Danny's going to push me, and I love to think that I can push her because I think she's fantastic. So that's what I want from both of us, to just push each other. And to have fun also, because if this is not just hardcore like push each other, like we're doing some CrossFit, we're a CrossFit couple. No, not really. Like this is honestly about kind of this self-recognition, this super nice journey to try to feel confident about what we're doing, and learning from each other in a very different way in which we learn from each other, in our daily routines. So I think it's going to be super fun. So we'll see how much we can push ourselves to do with this exercise. So.
Ahora una en español.
Uy.
William Felipe dice.
¿Qué hubo, William?
Hola, por fin me puedo conectar a un live. Gracias por todo lo que hacen, en serio. Sería muy chévere una semana donde también podamos ver el arte de Dani. Quería preguntar, ¿por qué creen que pintamos? Es muy extraño para mí, jaja. Y lo otro, ¿dónde se puede conseguir el color teal y fluorescentes en Bogotá?
Uy.
Y si han visto el trabajo de Telmo Miel.
No, el trabajo de esa persona en particular. So I'm going to answer in Spanish too. That's something that we have to figure out because ya le respondo, William. Pero that's something that we have to figure out because we have Spanish Tuesdays in our channel that we're very proud of, where we just speak to the Spanish-speaking community because there's a lot of people out there that don't speak English. So we're very happy of having a day where we speak, specifically to those people. so if we're doing lives, we can just do this, I guess, just have it, multilingual and just answer in Spanish and English as the questions come along. So hopefully if that's what we end up doing in the future, you guys are okay with that. You don't feel that that's alienating or excluding. If anything, I think that that's very inclusive and very nice. So I'm going to respond to William. William, gracias por la pregunta. Gracias primero por las palabras bonitas por el proyecto. Y no sé si no pude escuchar o si de pronto, pues porque era en inglés, no había podido entender ese pedazo. Pero le cuento, el próximo año vamos a tratar de seguir con el proyecto, pero un poquito distinto a lo que hacemos ahora, porque lo vamos a hacer es como ahora sí literalmente junto con Dani, y lo que vamos a tratar de hacer es como una correspondencia visual entre los dos. Entonces vamos a hacer unos videos, unos lives, donde yo voy a estar trabajando, no sé si a diario, porque a diario es como demasiado, pero va a haber unos lives donde yo estoy trabajando más o menos como estoy trabajando en este momento, y va a haber un día a la semana donde hacemos como una correspondencia visual con Dani, y es que digamos que yo le propongo visualmente algo mediante una imagen que yo hago a ella, y ella a la semana siguiente hace una imagen como respuesta y me propone esa imagen a mí para seguir la conversación. Entonces es un ejercicio súper bonito, súper chévere. Obviamente eso no lo inventamos nosotros, eso lo hace mucha gente, pero lo bonito de nosotros pues es que somos pareja y somos personas que nos conocemos muchísimo, y que el objetivo es como empujarnos, como tratar de que las cosas que uno hace, pues que son inherentes como a la sensibilidad de cada uno, no sean condicionantes para la otra persona, sino que sean simplemente un punto de partida. Entonces pues yo haré mi pintura y pues Dani después hace su imagen, que puede ser un dibujo, un gouache, una acuarela o una pintura también, o puede hacer una escultura si quiere hacer como una escultura, porque ella también hace esculturas. Entonces la conversación puede ser muy chévere, o puede hacer una imagen que es pintada y la retoca después en digital, o cualquier cosa. O sea, ahí vamos a abrir como el espectro de posibilidades muchísimo, pero sí, nosotros ya habíamos hablado desde hace mucho tiempo, y pues queremos terminar con el proyecto con el carácter con el que comenzó, con el que lo hemos diseñado, que es pues de los videos diarios, aunque ahora solo hacemos pues 4 a la semana, pero pues videos diarios, pero para seguir como con la comunidad pues súper chiquita pero súper chévere que nos ha decidido acompañar todo este tiempo. Pensamos que la manera más chévere de seguir con el proyecto, aunque pues el carácter va a ser un poquito distinto, es trabajando juntos. Entonces vamos a estar haciendo como ese ejercicio así creativo juntos. Y William, que me dice que para qué servía la pintura.
No, que por qué pintar.
¿Para qué pintar? No, William.
¿Por qué pintar?
Imagínese saber por qué pinta. El otro día una artista que yo conozco, William, me respondió que en vez de estar pintando deberíamos estar preocupándonos por generar como una sociedad más equitativa, dar de comer. Ella puso el ejemplo de dar de comer a niños donde no hay comida. Entonces que en ese, digamos que comparada con esas necesidades primordiales, con esos derechos primordiales del ser humano, pues la pintura, ¿qué importa? Y pues sí, comparada al derecho de vivir dignamente, pues no importa, nada importa, o sea, nada, ni pintura, ni jugar fútbol, ni escuchar música, ni hacer una película, nada. Pero yo me puse a pensar y yo le respondí a ella como que si en una sociedad perfecta, o sea, si en una sociedad totalmente balanceada existiría la necesidad de pintar. O sea, yo me pregunté eso, ¿existiría la necesidad de pues hacer arte? Porque no sé, o sea, quién sabe, el arte de pronto lo hacemos, o pues lo que hemos llamado arte, esa necesidad de expresarnos mediante mediante todos estos, no sé, vehículos o lo que sean, estas acciones, de pronto nacen es como de un desbalance o de una necesidad por tratar de asir algo, de entender algo, pero pues si la sociedad estuviera en un balance real, o sea, si estuviéramos bien, si estuviéramos en un mundo totalmente balanceado, o sea, ¿cómo sería esa música? ¿Habría necesidad de música o simplemente con la música de los pajaritos pues ya es música? ¿Y habría necesidad de pintura o simplemente con ver la naturaleza tenemos? Porque si uno dice no, pues obvio sí, pues ahí es donde uno dice, pues sí, pero la pintura es una expresión personal. Entonces, pero si vivimos en una sociedad totalmente balanceada es porque pues el colectivo prima sobre el individuo. Y entonces, ¿de qué le sirve al individuo expresarse? O sea, esa necesidad de expresión, ¿para qué existe? ¿Para qué existiría? ¿Con qué estaría cumpliendo? Si lo que importaría es que estemos en balance con el planeta, en balance con los animales, entonces, ¿uno por qué pinta? O sea, en ese escenario, en un escenario perfecto, ¿uno por qué pintaría? Yo no le pregunto, yo le devolvería la pregunta no diciendo para qué pinta uno hoy en día, sino para qué pintaría uno en una sociedad perfecta, porque de pronto eso le da a uno como pistas que de pronto uno pinta es porque el ser humano es imperfecto, o sea, porque el ser humano tiene pues mil problemas y la manera como trata de que tengan sentido, de encontrarle algún sentido, es como con todos estos actos de expresión y de reflexión que se ha inventado.
Do you think it's okay for a beginner to use student line paints like Winton and Van Gogh? Van Gogh?
Sí. Yes, 100%. You're totally fine. I come from a school of thought where they told me the complete opposite. And I'm not trying to throw my teacher, under the bus. I'm just saying that my teacher used to say, and he probably still says it, Steve Assell, that painting was hard enough for you to do it with bad materials. And that makes a ton of sense. And that would make a ton of sense if everyone had the same amount of money to buy materials. Like if we could all afford the best of materials, then that's a very good, argument. That can make a very good argument. But the truth is, we are not the same. None of us around this planet are the same, or we have the same possibilities, or we can get the same colors. No, none of that, we don't have the same availability. So what good is it to hear that you have to buy the best materials if you can't get them in your country? And that's very much the case of Colombia. So if I said that, I would be telling people here that they wouldn't be able to paint. Like if I truly believe that, I would be saying that people would be incapable of painting if they weren't able to order them through, whatever website you order stuff from, or, travel and go to a country where you can buy them from. And I don't believe that. I really don't. I believe that you could work with whatever you have, whatever is available to you. Those are your tools, and you can be very happy with them. You can be incredibly satisfied with them. You don't have to convince yourself that they are less tools. If you want, because I think I have a bunch of those. In fact, the other day, ¿cómo se llama la persona que preguntó? ¿Te acuerdas?
Sí, ya te digo. Se llama Antonia Barreto.
Antonia, no sé si hablas español, but I'm gonna imagine that you don't. So I'm not gonna, believe that you do. So Antonia, I bought permanent geranium lake the other day from the store because I thought it was super cool, and it's a Winton color, and I still haven't used it well because I'm scared of it a little bit. But it's a perfectly good color to use. It's perfect, it's totally fine. So Danny knows this about myself. I use a bunch of colors that are not expensive. So it's totally fine, perfectly fine. Because we can't get a bunch of these colors, like super nice colors here in Bogota. So painting can't be that if you are fortunate or privileged enough to buy the colors, then you can be a good painter, and if you don't, then you have no chance in hell to paint. No, no, no. Painting is for everyone. Painting is for the many, not for the few. So.
Since community is a part of the project that you like, have you thought about starting a Discord? Que no sé usar.
Yeah, we're gonna be super. Yeah, Danny said it out loud. What I was saying in my brain. It's just that we don't use Discord. Like my son uses Discord for his video games, but I know that it's essentially just a chat room, like a really specific private chat room, and people that are working on or that want to work on something that is. Something that echoes, an exercise that we're doing, they can meet through there. We would have to manage it, or moderate it, because Danny and I both do everything in our project, so we just don't have a lot of experience with moderating those places. So if we learn, we've learned everything that we're doing because we didn't really know how to do it. So I think that if we learn, and if enough people, I think, are willing to be part of that, because I don't really know. I think our community is super nice. It's very healthy. It's very welcoming. But I don't have a firm grasp on if we are big, or if we are enough people to really have conversations with. So we work super abstractly. We always do videos thinking that there's one people is gonna watch this video, and we're super fine with that, and we're not we don't really push to try and make this channel bigger. There's a lot of people that are super nice, and I have to say it, that tell us one day you guys are gonna blow up and it's gonna be super cool, or people tell us, I don't know why you have so little views. And honestly, we're kind of okay with all those things. We're totally fine with that being the character of our channel and of our project. So, yeah, right now our channel is still very small, and like I said, it's very hard to get a grasp on if there's a wanting for those things. I'm super happy that you're saying that could be like a very cool thing. If that's something that you guys think could be beneficial to what we do as a very small community, that would be awesome. That would be super cool.
Wait, Discord is more than just a chat room. It's like having a forum website of your own that you can grow a community, and people can volunteer to moderate, so you don't have to. Pues podemos buscar.
Yeah. So
aprender.
We are going to, teach ourselves how, what we could do with that. And I know that we're probably sounding super archaic, and I apologize if we do. It's like, oh my God, what are these people doing? They have no idea what this is. But we're not gonna lie. Yeah. Right before we were going live, I think we had forgotten how to do OBS, so Danny and I were super scrambling, just say, what the hell? What do we do? So yeah, that's the cool thing about not asking people for money, because we don't. If somebody wants to buy this painting, for example, great, but and that way, in that way, that very generous person is subsidizing, what we do for, the thousands of people that wouldn't be able to buy a painting or are not interested in buying a painting. But aside from that, to be super honest with you guys, we are willing to learn, but we also know that what we do is so kind of simple that it's kind of scary to make it into something bigger, but we can give it a shot.
Danny, if I heard right, you're doing one painting a week with the upcoming project Evolution. Is Nick planning on doing a painting and live stream every day, or a longer, bigger painting once a week?
So I think I'm gonna try to do both, but I'm not gonna. So if I do both, so if I do a kind of single painting every week, so that we can use it for our conversation, let's say, for the kind of visual correspondence we're gonna have. Yeah, I wouldn't be working on that one daily. I wouldn't be showing that one, because then Danny would see it, and it would, kind of ruin the idea of her just looking at it once I'm done and once I share it with her. That could be Saturday. That could be a video on Saturday. So I want to do that one on my own time, let's say, and I want to see if I'm able to do maybe three live videos a week. 3 live, yeah. So in all there would be 4 or 5 images with Danny's, plus 5 images with Danny's. That would include three of my paintings every day, 3 daily ones. I'm thinking out loud, I'm sorry, because we haven't figured this out.
Yeah,
so
no.
Yeah, Danny's like, but Danny is like super not wanting to commit because she's scared.
No. It's that you're giving spoilers and we haven't even established
Yeah,
what we're going to do.
I know we haven't, but when you say it out loud, it happens. When you say it out loud, that's what I've always noticed. Like, if you say it out loud, you have to do it. Now you have to do it. Like, it's commitment, 100% commitment. So that's what I'm trying to do.
You could try out live streaming on Twitch too, alongside YouTube. It would bring in some easy extra income through subscriptions. And someone else said, there is a community of artists on Twitch. Have you thought about streaming on Twitch?
We checked it out with Danny the other day, and maybe we're not looking at the right places. So maybe if you guys could suggest, because what we saw was still very small, and not small is a bad thing. I really do feel that, if we were to do something on Twitch, we would never expect video game numbers. But I don't know how active the community is on Twitch. Who's the only person that I've seen that does kind of cool stuff on Twitch? I mean, there's a bunch of digital artists, but somebody that I follow, it's Jim Lee. Like, he, when he draws and when he does his Twitch streams, that's kind of awesome. But he's Jim Lee. We are still very far from being Jim Lee. So I don't know. I don't know how active it is. I don't know how many people really, really feel that Twitch is a place where you go for live kind of painting videos. I know that digital painting is probably far more popular, but...
Perdón, mira,
sí,
es que una de las personas que preguntó se llama, es que creo que voy a pronunciar mal.
No importa.
Se llama Leah Goldberg.
Thank you, Leah. Or Leah, maybe. You can correct us.
And they're saying that he actually runs a quality Twitch stream with traditional art.
Oh, cool.
Entonces, sí, igual podemos mirar. Es que yo creo que es más que no conocemos.
Yeah. What Danny's saying is that it's more that we are unfamiliar with, Twitch streamers that do art stuff. So it's probably more ignorance on our part than anything else. Because the other day we wanted to check out artists, and we ended up just watching a bunch of ASMR videos, which are really freaky. So no, that's not the place that we want to be. Yeah, that was totally not the place where we wanted to land. But yeah.
And they're saying that we can stream on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. No
Okay.
need to pick one or another. So yeah, we can
Okay.
do a little research.
Yeah, how to connect those two? Because I thought, see, what I thought is that you had to, you would Twitch, you would stream on Twitch and then record that video, and then you would just re-upload it to YouTube. That's what I thought that you had to do.
A ver. También nos dicen Arthur Kane is an oil painter. He teaches in Rome.
Oh, I think I follow him in Instagram.
Creo que está en Twitch, es lo que nos están diciendo.
Okay. Yeah, but I think I follow him on Instagram.
A ver, espera, otra pregunta. Ay, la tenía y se me fue.
No.
Nope. No. How to keep track or keep excited doing a big painting?
Oof, very tough. Super tough. I think that's one of the toughest things to do with, with a painting. I think that the one that I worked on the most was about 8 months, and I totally understand what you're asking, because halfway through that painting I had forgotten why I wanted to paint it. And I don't think there's an easy answer to any of that. I really don't. I think that it is about recognizing how intent has changed with the execution of a painting, because that's super possible also, that you had an idea and a plan, and in the middle of the execution of that plan, everything changed. And that's totally fine. Like, I am the sort of artist that can be accepting of that. But, if that's something that's not cool for you because you wanted to execute something very particular, then you have to ask yourself, oh, why did I lose concentration? Like, why did I kind of, why did my eye why wasn't I looking at the ball like the whole time? Or why wasn't I capable of concentrating in that sense? That's very tough. But like I said, I love when unexpected things happen and you have to re-signify that intent, that original intent that you had, and you have to reorganize your thoughts and re-plan everything. That to me is super exciting. But I don't think, at the time that I did that very large painting, which was actually like one of the panels, well, it wasn't a panel, but one of the parts of a triptych, of a bigger triptych even. When I did that painting, I was younger, and I don't think I had the mental kind of ability or fortitude. I'm not saying that young people don't have that, it's just that I didn't have that at the time. But I just didn't have the ability to recognize what was going on, in that painting. Because for me, painting used to be very little of being kind of reflective, of trying to think about what I was doing. Like, I knew what I wanted to paint, and I would just go, like, set off and try to paint it. That to me was painting. It's like I got super excited with an idea, and it was just about being capable of executing it, and that's it. And I was missing the part that is super essential to painting, which is when you're not painting and you're looking at your painting, like, what's going through your mind. Like, when you're examining your painting after a day's work, like, what goes on in your mind. And that I don't think I gave enough importance to that when I was younger. I was just too worried about making paintings, and if they can be huge, great. If they can be super attractive, great. If they can showcase that I'm a good painter, then great. But I things have changed quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know. You just have to constantly remind yourself, why is it that you set out to make this, painting that became this big endeavor? And I think that if you're the sort of person that is, that finds that it's necessary, it's essential for you to recognize that and to just keep going, that single thing, and to keep going, then just remind yourself of that, but just try to reach a definition for that painting that's very simple to explain to yourself. Like, what I'm trying to do with painting is this, and if it takes you 10 minutes to explain to yourself why you're painting it, then it's too complicated. The simpler the better. If you can tell it to yourself in a couple of words, in a couple of phrases, then great. Then you're going to be able to hold on to those words a lot more easily. But I think that part of doing a big painting is also dealing with not feeling enamored by it at some point. Having this creeping sense of doubt sort of set in, and you dealing with that. I think that that's part of it. That the experience is not complete if you don't feel that. So yeah, it's just tough. It's one of those things that honestly I don't think there's an easy answer to that.
So I took note because they gave us a lot of names.
Oh,
of
cool.
Twitch art.
Nice. Thank you.
Creators, I think so.
Awesome. Tonight we're gonna do that then.
Yeah, and a question. It says, when and where is your next in-person workshop?
When and where? It's in like 15. Well, I have to travel the 20th, and I'm going to my home. My home, away from home.
Van a creer que sí.
No, I'm not. But no, I'm teaching it in Liverpool. So for those of you who don't know, I am an enormous Liverpool fan, like Premier League football, Liverpool fan. And I've never been to I've been to London, but I've never been to Liverpool. So I got invited. I obviously said yes on the small possibility that I could visit Anfield and just maybe go to a game, even though they're ridiculously expensive. But yeah, so on the 20-something, we have one physical workshop in Liverpool.
Divina, tu mamá dice, Dani, very good your English.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, tan linda. Entonces dicen, oh, nice. When and where is your next workshop in America?
It's an online one though that I'm doing with the amazing Peggy Townsend in Chattanooga, but it's going to be online, and that's going to be December. You guys can check them out. They are Townsend Atelier, if you guys want to check them out. But this one is online. It's not going to be physical. Maybe next year, I'll go back to Chattanooga because Peggy and Stan are incredible. But the one that we are doing, the one that I proposed Peggy, was kind of like what we're doing now, which is working from black and white photographs, from black and white images, and just interpreting color. And today we're interpreting color in a very, very, very controlled manner. But the idea is that during that week workshop, not week as in, oh, so weak, that is weak. But in that 5-day workshop, week-long workshop, I should say. But the idea is that in that week-long workshop, we can work with different palettes and try to achieve far, far more expressive results. Expressive not being like, it doesn't mean that expressive or super saturated is incredible, like that's the goal. Not really. Like now that I'm painting this particular painting with such a controlled palette, like I'm loving it. When I started, I had some doubts. I was like, oh, this is gonna be boring. Like it's so hard to make this palette look exciting. And then I remembered, no, what am I talking about? Like this palette is incredible. As soon as I started to see the painting just coming along, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is really nice. So the idea behind that workshop is that we can use different palettes, and we can emphasize a different aspect of those palettes every day, and hopefully we can just teach ourselves possibilities that we didn't find were kind of plausible in our painting practice. So I love to do workshops like that, just to have somebody who's very set on their ways and to show them that there are so many ways to paint is super exciting to me. I think that that's probably like one of the most exciting things about workshops that I do, or that I enjoy. It's not about teaching a particular style. It's not about just a very technical manner of working, which I could do. I'm not saying like, oh, I could do that. I could totally do that. No. Those, like, if you know how to paint, you know how to formally solve a painting. So you can teach somebody how to, technically paint. But I try to not stop there, and I always love to push a little bit more and to trying to look for another brush. And to show people that when you examine possibilities that maybe you once thought were obsolete or were unworthy of your attention, of your painting, of your subject matter, when you give them a chance, and there's no better chance to than a workshop to try new things out, amazing things can happen. I am a true believer of that. And hopefully what we've done with our Painted Lives shows you guys that we do believe in that it's not something that we that we're trying to push, but it's something that honestly it's part of the DNA of this exercise.
What would you ask Rembrandt
if
you met him for a day, or you went back in time with a time
don't
machine
even.
and spent one day in his studio?
Oh, don't even. No, I would shut up. I would just try to see how he does what he does. Yeah, I wouldn't feel worthy of asking anything. I would be very curious, just incredibly curious of how he does things, how he does. There are certain things in my mind that I just don't understand, that I could look at 100 Rembrandt paintings, and I've been very lucky to be able to travel and to, see Rembrandt paintings with my own eyes, and I just don't get it. I don't. Like, I get it in the sense that there is no mystery to it, because he wasn't doing anything, weird. It's very 17th century painting. There's nothing absurd about it. There's nothing that, oh my God, only Dutch people did this, in painting, or only Rembrandt did this in painting. No, he didn't do anything. And this is not, by the way, this is not me saying that he didn't do anything weird. No, like, they've done tons of studies of Rembrandt's paintings, and they have never found anything strange about them, in terms of the priming, or in terms of the medium. Nothing. What's most frustrating is when they do one of those things and the results are like, oh, it was walnut oil. Walnut. Like, that's it. That's as complex as it gets. Because a lot of people for the longest time were like, no, that has ground glass, and that's why the painting kind of shimmers and shines. And, there's a ton of mystery to his painting, but the truth is he was just a genius. He could just manipulate paint in ways that I don't think we imagine, and it would be amazing just to see how he did it. Yeah, but I would shut up. I wouldn't know what to ask. Nothing. I don't know. Nothing. Yeah, I would freeze.
What's your advice for people who live in areas where art isn't sold well? I think I have a decent level, but it's so hard to get commissions. Saludos desde México.
Ah, hola.
Irving Torres.
Irving, ¿será que...? Bueno, puedo, si pregunto en inglés, podemos responder en inglés para más gente. so Irving is asking about living in a place where there's not a kind of good enough art market, where, how do you keep motivated? How do you, try to commercialize your work in a place where maybe painting is not recognized as much as other manners of expression, or where people are not really interested, where there's not a healthy market for those things, or maybe there's a market, but it's way too small, and you can sell a couple of paintings but not really make a living out of it. And even I would say that that had to be a problem, a bigger problem years ago. But nowadays, we ship all over the world. Like, we've shipped to places that, sometimes I'm even like, what? Where is that? Like, it's amazing what social media can open up, like what the sort of art market that social media can open up. So there's no reason why you have to believe nowadays that you have to stick to your hometown, if it's small, or to the galleries that are, part of the city where you live in. Nowadays, galleries will accept portfolios that are, that don't have to be physical portfolios that you mail in. You just have to show your work, and there's many galleries that will happily look at social media as a portfolio. So there are alternatives today that we didn't have for the longest time, where you can sell your work anywhere, literally anywhere. Now, that doesn't mean that selling one's work is easy. I think, if we can speak about our experience doing this project, I think that if you rely upon just making something and then putting it on your feed and saying, hey, this is what I did, DM me if you want to buy it, and that's it, then that's, I'll be perfectly honest, that's not good. To me, that's very lazy, and that's never going to lead to anything that can be consistent, any sort of consistent growth of the market. If you want to sell your work, then you have to also be willing to understand that there are tons of things that now you have control over, that you just can't be happy that you have control over them. You have to use them. So, for example, if you have the ability to communicate like we are communicating right now with you guys, it's not just, you can't just say, oh, this is so cool, now I can talk to people, and now I can kind of, build a community. But if you want to build a community, then build it, then do it. Because obviously that's going to help you then, share your work with those people. And it's not just going to be a painting that somebody sees in a feed that they say, hey, I did this, if you want to buy it, DM me. No, it's going to be something that they tie to you, to the relationship that you are constructing with people. And that's super important, super important, because I know a ton of artists that are good friends of mine that are just lazy, and then they, I'm not going to obviously, speak specifically about anyone, but they're lazy in the sense that they just expect people to throw money in our faces. And, even if a painting is incredible, like let's say if you're trying to sell a painting, even if the painting is amazing, like there's still work to do if you want to sell it. Incredible paintings will sell themselves, like that's, probably true also. But if you really want to create a market for yourself, like making the painting was only like the first part of it. And then you have to understand that there is a lot of work ahead, and you have to be willing to do that work also. So first thing I would say is don't be lazy. Don't just say, to me that's, well, Danny and I buy a ton of paintings from all over the world, but and we're always like on the lookout for people that just post amazing work. But trust me, not a lot of people behave that way. Like, I think that what we do, I'm not saying we're special, but because we are artists, like, we don't really care about that extra step that it would take to sort of acquire something. But I think that for regular people or for a smaller art market that wants to get started, and that's what we want. We want to, have people that maybe have never bought a painting or a drawing to consider it, to start considering buying a painting or a drawing, and to not be afraid of a price, and to, because if they look at something for the first time and what they see is just this enormous price tag, that's going to feed into their idea of what the art market usually is, this sort of inaccessible thing that is for other people, that it's just for rich people. But what we have to do is try to teach them, to educate them and say, hey, no, this is actually for you if you want to, and there are places that you can get stuff for, prices that are way, way more accessible than you would believe. But we have to make that easier for people too. We have to teach them that those sort of places exist. So again, if you're gonna do one thing, don't just, even if your painting is amazing, don't just say, hey, I finished it, I'm amazing, I'm a god, DM me. Like that I don't even understand. Like DM me for the price. Just give a price tag. Put a price tag on your paintings. Like share your price on your paintings and tell everyone, hey, they're worth $50, whatever they're worth, doesn't matter. Like don't be ashamed. Don't ever feel ashamed of your paintings or what you sell them for. If they are $50, just proudly say they're $50, and try to sell all of them. Try to make a killing, selling all of them. But don't ever feel like ashamed and then think, oh, I won't share my price because it's either too high and it's going to scare people off, or it's too low and they're going to think that I'm not a professional, artist, and it's nobody's going to take me for real. Like our paintings are $250. Like in the art world, $250. Oh my God, a gallery. Do you think a gallery is going to say, I'm going to work my butt off for $125 to try to sell a painting for $125, which would be their cut? Like nobody would take that seriously. Nobody. So we have to do educating, even though, that sounds super pedantic, but we have to, it is our role or it is our responsibility to share with people that there are other ways of doing things, that are different from the ways in which things have been done for many, many, many years. And the reason that there are, different ways of doing things is because now we have tools to communicate with people that before we didn't have. So if we have the ability to communicate with people, to generate relationships, to speak about our work in a way that we never had the opportunity to do. Imagine me doing this painting and in a gallery, like in front of like a bunch of people that are going to a solo show, and I'm speaking while I'm doing the painting that is going to hang in the next couple of hours, and then then it's going to be for sale. Like those things don't happen. I'm not saying that nobody has ever done that, but those things, that's not the way the art market behaves. That's not how things are done traditionally. So if we are doing things differently nowadays, we have to be willing to accept that we are responsible for a lot of other things too. We can't just sit on our asses and say, I'm not saying that you sit on your ass and you're just waiting for your paintings to be sold. Obviously this is not personal in any way, but all I'm saying is that we have to understand that our responsibility does not stop with the painting. If you don't like that part, if you're like, you know what, I can't, I'm not good with people, I'm shy, this is not something I feel comfortable, try to find a partner that helps you, or, try to look for a gallery that can do that for you. In those cases, yeah, try to, partner yourself with a really cool gallery. And again, galleries nowadays, they don't have to be in your town, they don't have to be local galleries. I mean, that's awesome if they are local and you're helping a local business, that's super cool. But if you recognize that in the place that you live, there's just simply no market for what you do, then go elsewhere. You know, find your home elsewhere. But you can't just, you know, sit back and say, I'm just gonna think about my painting, and if it's good enough, like a good gallery will just fall on my lap and they'll just throw money in my face. Like, we all hope that it would work that way, but that's not the way it works. It really isn't the way it works. Hopefully that answers, and hopefully that was helpful for anyone.
Yeah, and Irving says, great advice, you're right, I have 3-day jobs plus my art. I'll keep working on my skill and marketing it.
Yeah, pues
Gracias por iniciar este proyecto, gran equipo. Sí. Nicolás y Dani, viva Latinoamérica.
No, primero Irving, no, mi respeto, nuestro respeto enorme, también sé que Dani piensa lo mismo.
Sí.
No, o sea, también nosotros entendemos que hay muchas personas que, por más de que el arte sea lo que espiritualmente, sensiblemente quieren hacer, pues no ha sido correspondido y no ha sido como el camino, y pues las responsabilidades continúan. O sea, yo, por ejemplo, en mi caso, yo siempre siento, pues por más de que a uno le vaya bien o mal, mis hijos siguen, o sea, mis hijos están ahí y pues uno tiene que responder por las responsabilidades que uno tiene. Entonces, primero, mis respetos, nuestros respetos, porque sabemos que ese es un caso de Irving y de muchísima gente que anhela con que lo que adoran hacer pues se convierta en su único trabajo. Pero Irving, a las personas que tienen solo un momentico de tiempo para dedicarle a esto que todos amamos, siempre les digo, cuando lo haga Irving, hágalo con toda, o sea, métale toda y haga que las imágenes que quiere pintar importen, que de verdad lo conmuevan a usted y que de verdad le signifiquen tanto, para que también como que la gente entienda que el sacrificio que usted está haciendo por ellas es enorme, es así de grande, o sea, así de mucho le importan a usted esas imágenes y el hacer esas pinturas. Entonces, sígale metiendo toda. Si puede pintar un día a la semana, si puede pintar una noche a la semana, pues, no sé, rómpala en esa noche, o sea, haga el mejor trabajo que pueda hacer en esa noche. Y no me refiero como a calidad, que le quede una pintura, porque esa presión también es horrible. No me refiero a que usted se esté presionando a hacer algo así impresionante en ese único momento. No, pero haga algo que le signifique, ¿me entiende? Como haga algo que realmente le importe, y que tenga como un peso para usted. Y yo creo que ahí es cuando la pintura como que va a ser súper agradecida también, porque usted va a estar haciendo, o sea, ese sacrificio se va a sentir en la pintura. Pero mucho respeto, de verdad.
What's something you've learned about yourself as a person or as an artist throughout this project that has surprised you?
I'm far more patient than I thought I was. Far more patient. Because I always thought that I was heavy-handed, and I still think I'm very heavy-handed, but I always thought that I just didn't have the patience to deal with a painting, for example, not going well, and you know, trying, you know, desperately to find, you know, find my way through a painting that I was struggling with. To me, it was like, I don't know how to do that. I just get super anxious, and I just don't know how to do, you know, don't know what to do, and then I'm probably gonna just ruin the painting because of my uncertainty. So, recognizing that I could be super patient and that I am okay with things not going the way I thought they would is super cool. Like now that I know that about myself, I kind of seek those things because I know that I can feel okay with them. Like if I'm going through a rough patch on a painting and it's clearly not what I expected. Like before, I used to get super anxious. Like, you know, I used to think that I was, you know, at the beginning I used to think I'm painting as performance, like I'm painting as content for other people. and I have to deliver content, because that's what kind of, having a YouTube channel and social media will have you believe. They're not actively trying to make you believe those things, but unfortunately that's what ends up happening. And just realizing that I could just do this, like that we've been hanging out for a couple of hours and that I can paint and that I can, start a painting, and it was kind of weird at the beginning and not feel scared about it at all. And just know that at some point it's going to make sense for me, and I'm going to be able to make it kind of find its way. I really appreciate that, that it's something that I would say painting taught me. It's not something that I recognized about myself, but it's something that painting taught me along the way, because I don't think that was in me, to be honest. I'm not that courageous of a human being to be able to deal with those things. I think I'm very anxious, and it's very tough for me to deal with things that I'm not kind of like totally under control of, and to see that those things are not really menacing anymore. It's incredible that they don't threaten me anymore. It's super nice.
Do you think Picasso's personality matters, since he was seen as a bad person by some? Do you think that affects how some people see his paintings?
Manet.
No, Picasso.
Es que no vi lo de Picasso, no te escuché si lo dijiste.
No, lo dije al principio. Do you think Picasso?
No sé, no entendí. Picasso, I don't know if has it affected the way people see his work? I mean, he's probably like the most famous artist in the latter half of the 20th century. So I don't know if that affected anything. I mean, if you really think about it, even if he was, a sort of diva, it's an artist that was bigger than life. Nowadays we don't have that. We have TikTokers that can be that, or we have, football players that can do that. But artists, no, we're not those people anymore. I don't think that there is a name in the art world that nowadays is as ubiquitous as, Picasso was in the, let's say, 60s or 50s. So, I don't know. I don't think it affected anything. I mean, when we say affected, we would be able to see the effect of that of that trait of his, and we can't see it. I mean, he's in every big museum of every single city in the world. So yeah, no, and he's respected by everyone. So.
Have you thought about streaming a larger painting that you work on over a long period of time in parts, not all at once?
Yeah, we've also thought about that. Our space is not super conducive to do that, but I think we would be able to find a way to do that maybe next year, because I do want to do that too. I do want to do bigger paintings, not because I feel that it's time to do something bigger, but because I'm curious. I'm very curious as to how I would approach something that's bigger. That puzzles me a little bit, and it makes me super nervous too. So I'm curious. I'm very curious to see what I would do, which is insane, because for years I did large paintings. For years and years I did large paintings. So it's nothing new to me, and I'm not threatened by a size of a painting anymore. But I'm just curious, because I don't know what sort of painter I am when I would try to paint those large paintings.
Do you have a favorite art museum?
Oof. You know which one, just from the first moment that I went to it, it impacted me, and I thought it was one of the coolest, most beautiful places that I've seen in my life. It was the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, because I love 19th century painting. So it is, you know, I mean, yes, Eurocentric, but it's one of the most impressive and amazing collections of 19th century painting in the world. So, and just the architecturally, like the, you know, the fact that it was a train station, sort of repurposed to be, you know, this museum. It's just fascinating to me. I first moment I stepped into that museum, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And it's not the Louvre, it's not the Met, it's not, you know, the Art Institute in Chicago, it's not the Hermitage, it's not an enormous museum like those museums. It's a small, you know, in many ways it's a kind of small collection that you could get to know, and it is that, but it still houses some of the most amazing 19th century paintings. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to say that.
What?
Sí, dale, dale.
Have you ever been to the Rothko Chapel?
No.
No.
No, ¿dónde es esa? ¿Me buscas?
Sí.
Así súper rapidín.
A ver. Houston, Texas.
Oh, no. You know what? We are visiting with Danny in November. We're visiting my brother in Houston. So we could check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Rothko as in Rothko,
Mhm.
you know, Mark Rothko. No, I've never been to, and you know, but thank you. We're gonna go there. So if you're recommending it to us, we are for sure gonna check it out. I'm a big fan of Rothko, so.
A ver. Have you ever felt like you need someone better than you right beside you in real life, not online? Sometimes I wish there were better artists in my town to see their work to inspire me.
I have Danny, so I don't need
Nick.
I don't need anyone else, but no, but if I understand you correctly, like, yeah, you would love to kind of, you know, push yourself with somebody there that you can have like a physical relationship with. I've always spoken about how when I was studying, I was very, very lucky that our generation at School of Visual Arts was just incredibly talented. It's just insanely talented. And that, I feel that that's like the unspoken part of my education. I always speak about my teachers because yes, my teachers were essential, but I think the fact that I was able to also work alongside people that are just amazing professionals nowadays was what made that education feel like it was something different. Like it really was something absolutely different. So yeah, I totally get it, but as I was saying with the market, with the art market and the way, nowadays there are so many different alternatives to socializing and commercializing your work. I think that, I know it's not the same thing, but you can meet people and you can just, become incredibly, creatively tied to those people, even if it's virtually. Like I've seen tons of, relationships start virtually between artists, and they become very, very, very close. And, like I said, they become partners in creative endeavors. So I think that that's something that can be done. I don't think that you need that physical presence. But if you're longing for that, just try to find spaces that maybe are, you're saying that in your hometown it's kind of difficult, but maybe, a few towns away, maybe it's a place that you can go once a month. But even if it's a trip and it seems like it's completely unnecessary and you're just, oh my God, why am I going to travel, 100 miles or, whatever, just to see a couple of people in a open painting studio, I think it is worth it. I think that those places are also super worth it. And if you are feeling the need for them right now, yeah, go seek them. And or maybe you can move. I mean, this is a little extreme, but if you can't move, I'm positive that there are places that are somewhat near to you, that maybe you're gonna find people that can share what you enjoy, and that's awesome. That's super cool. Don't give up on that. Like, trust me, you're not alone. Like, we are never ever alone. Like, there's always gonna be somebody out there that shares what we love.
They're telling us that the Rothko Chapel is free to
Oh,
go.
cool, nice.
And they're telling us to go and see Kupka's self-portrait.
Oh, the yellow one, yeah.
In Houston.
That's in Houston, I know. Last time, you reminded me, because last time I wanted, when I was with my brother, and now I'm remembering, I was like, oh my god, this portrait is here in Houston, and then I read it was on loan somewhere else. They had loaned it somewhere, or it wasn't hanging for some reason. So this was a couple of years ago. So yeah, I have to see that self-portrait. That's one of the best self-portraits ever, I feel. Ever.
Will you do a painting meetup in Houston?
Painting meetup in Houston? Well, I'm with my brother. We're with Danny. Maybe we could,
But
we don't have a car. No, but maybe we could do it.
De pronto a una persona.
Yeah, maybe it's like one person. But yeah, we're gonna be with Danny there for what is it? Kind of like 10 days, maybe a long week, maybe at most. So yeah, if guys want to meet and we can meet at a bar, diner, whatever, that we're totally fine with that. Or go to a museum together. That's totally cool. If you guys don't mind going with Danny or with my mother. My mother is going on that trip. We're all visiting my brother, so it's kind of like it's a family trip. It's Danny, my mother, and myself. So if that didn't sound lame to anyone, then awesome.
Sounds good.
Nice.
I'll drive there. Ahí también dicen, I'm in Austin. I'll drive to Houston.
Oh, dude, I've been to Austin. I did a workshop there. It's very nice, very college-y.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on constructive drawing. A cylinder refined into an arm versus optical shape. Just what you see, more academic. Academic? ¿Cómo se dice eso? Academic?
Academic, sí.
Academic.
Sí, super.
Seems to be a... Eso sí no sé cómo se dice.
Dale, mándate.
Dichotomy
sí.
In art instruction.
I don't know if it's that either or. Like if it's if you have to pick a team, to be honest. If I have to be sincere, even though I did study illustration and building from cylinders, that's it's almost like Andrew Loomis' way of teaching. It's a very, very old school way of teaching illustration. I was never taught that way because I think that the core of how I was taught was painting from life, painting and drawing from life, like almost exclusively. So, I even think that I grew a little too accustomed to needing that kind of stimuli to imagine myself drawing something. So it wasn't so much about understanding what you were drawing, it was about having a super acute sense of observation and understanding what you were observing, and then translating that into a drawing or a painting. But they never taught us to do construction, that way. So it's not the way I usually. I mean, you saw me. I started doing like a blob. It was nothing. So and it's a blob that I just keep kind of shifting and shifting until I kind of carve it with a stroke that is important, and I recognize that that stroke is important, that I'm super committed with that stroke, and then I say, okay, that's a decision that I can keep. The other ones I kind of shift and move around, but that's one I can keep. So it's a super organic way of drawing, but it works for me. I could tell you right now that this is something that's not at all, that can't be turned into a recipe or like a rule set. It has to work for you. I know that for a lot of people, construction works, particularly if you are in concept stuff, if you're doing concept stuff for video games, for animation. That is, understanding something fundamentally is really, really the way to go, especially if you're going to have to be solving a ton of things from your imagination. But for me, that relies, I'm not going to say almost exclusively, but I rely a lot on observation. I haven't found it super, super, like, necessary or like indispensable. Like I said, I think it has to do with the nature of what you want to do, but not necessarily believing that one is better than the other. I know Stan Prokopenko, he teaches, from construction, and he's remarkable at that. And that's why, for example, there's so much kinship with illustrators or with comic book artists with what he does, because that's what comic book artists have to do constantly. They have to construct, from spheres and other like geometries to understand the volumes that they're going to develop. But like I said, there's if that was the only way to do something, like, sure, but art is incredible in the sense that it will always show you that that's not the only road. Like, and it's not and it does it just so that you can feel comfortable knowing that if you don't connect with a way of doing something, there's always going to be an alternative for you to try and do it, some other way. So that to me is like super encouraging. I really needed that, to know that when I was younger, because I always felt I was super messy when I painted. Very, very messy. In fact, I spoke with Max a couple of months ago now, and Max is older now, but he's still as sharp as he could be. But he was like, one thing I remembered about you, he told me, he was like, you were messy. And that's not what you want to hear from your painting teacher. Like, the one thing, like the thing that sticks out in their minds when they think about you is that you were messy. That made me smile. It made me really, really smile. But yeah, I always thought, and because I looked up to Max so much, that I had to paint in a more kind of coherent fashion, that I had to be more intelligent with my choices. So it took me a long time to realize that the way I paint is the way I paint. That's just the road that I've kind of carved out for myself, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's different than other people's, but it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong about what I do. It's just a different way. But yeah, I guess always seek whatever feels natural to you. Whatever feels like, okay, I get that, I understand that. Like, that's a thought process that I can understand, or that's a construction process that I can comprehend. Seek those things, because this is not easy. So if you find something that sticks, something that makes sense, oh my God, pick it up and run with it, because that's your sensitivity is telling you, yeah, we found a home with this. We can start here. At least start there. And then, as you get older, or as you gather more paintings under your belt, and you have this willingness to try things out, you can then start to question those things, which is super healthy, I feel also.
I just saw that you're from Wisconsin. What do you think
Yes.
of Wisconsin and considering living
Oh
there?
no, but my family lived in Wisconsin for over 10 years. I am sad to tell you that that I was there just as a little kid, so I know as little as you know about Wisconsin. I know that, you know, it's the Midwest, so, you know, people, it's cold. People are nice. I think it's very safe. In terms of the art scene, I don't know. It's near Chicago. Is that? is that? Is that? I think Wisconsin is the Connecticut of the Midwest. So Connecticut is good because there's nothing really cool in Connecticut, but it's right next to Boston and New York. So maybe Wisconsin is just cool because it's close to Chicago. But I don't know. Yeah, I think people are nice over there. You know, that's kind of like, you know, I don't know. I don't know much.
But you're
much
just
else.
saying like random things.
I'm saying super random
Yeah.
things. Yeah, yeah. Because I can't say specific things because I don't. You know, I've never consciously lived there.
How do you feel living in Colombia is affecting your art and your perspective on life?
But I mean, this is my country, and well, this is our country, both mine and Danny's, and this is what, you know, the country that we call home, and it obviously affects you in the sense that you are very aware of everything that's, you know, off about your country, everything that could be better about your country, but I don't know if the level that it can affect you means that something has to change fundamentally about who you are. I don't think. I think that, you know, I've taught. Danny studied here in Bogota. She studied arts here. I taught at a university here for 12 years. So we're very in tune and very, you know, we know what the art scene looks like here. We know the things that, you know, artists, the discourse that local artists usually have in Colombia, but we're also aware that, you know, art is something that's so much bigger, and the conversation nowadays is so much bigger than just your hometown or your city. That you can speak to a broader audience, and you can speak to people from all over this planet. So I don't know. It has given us an awareness of things that maybe other people that are not part of, you know, these smaller Latin American countries. They can't imagine, you know, I don't know, life being lived that way, in which, you know, a lot of people here in our country live, but it's also a sense of appreciation to, you know, it grants you this sense of being grateful for what you have, and when, you know, for the things that go well in your life, and that's also super important. Like it always gives you perspective, I feel. It'll always grant you a sense of perspective, living in a smaller country, a poorer country. So, yeah, but we're very happy here. This is, I think I speak for the both of us when I say that this is our home. Like, I don't think that we would trade our home for anything. So, yeah. Even yesterday we were just like dumb people talking, like, what would you do if you won the lotto? And both Danny and myself, even Danny even says, I wouldn't even move from the apartment that we're in. And we were with my family, and my sister was like, no, you probably will. Like, you'd probably move.
Yeah, but I'm happy here.
Yeah,
so.
but we're happy. We're super happy. So, so I don't know. It just gives you, again, an appreciation for what you have, and I think that's super cool. I think that's the nicest thing that we that we could that we can gain from obviously a country that has suffered a lot. So, yeah.
I'm thinking of something that it's not from Colombia but Bogota. Maybe the grayness in your painting.
Oh, okay, yeah, and there's this sensibility to the way I probably approach color that has been, dictated by me living here. Like our understanding of sunlight is so different from just this, this idea of sunlight in other even in other places in the equator, in other countries in the equator. It's just that Bogota is so particular because it's so high up in altitude that like the sun feels different, the light feels different, the way the sun hits you, the strength with which it hits you, it's just different. It's it's a very different way of understanding light. And Bogota, just as a general rule, it's just a gray city. It's just a very gray kind of dingy sort of city, which is perfect. I think I adapted wonderfully to that with my painting. So I think we're getting close to calling it done, because I think that I could do more with it, but I don't know if it's just doing for the sake of doing. So.
¿Pregunto más? O
Sí.
They're asking if you have any plans of going to Toronto or Mexico.
Never. No, Toronto,
no.
Never again.
Ay, Nicola.
Never again. It's if hell was cold, that is Toronto. That's.
Oye, algo pasa.
¿Sí? ¿Morimos?
Sí.
¿Sí?
Se salió.
Pero ya del live.
Sí. No, ya volví, espera. Creo. No sé si están oyendo.
Danny is asking if we are still going. Maybe?
No sé, no.
Maybe? No?
No sé. Se salió de un momento a otro.
¿Sí?
Pero ya dice excellent connection. Still on. Sí.
Okay. We were
Sí.
nervous because it kind of dropped the connection.
Yeah.
And then we saw it back again.
No, it closed.
Oh, it closed?
Yeah.
No, but it can't close because then the live would close.
No, because I had 2 tabs and
Oh.
one closed.
What? ¿Y por qué 2 tabs?
Porque en una tenía... Porque sí, porque... bueno,
sí, no pregunte,
Sí.
no cuestione.
Bueno, que Toronto no.
No, never. Toronto, never again. It's way too cold. Forget it.
Don't come to Toronto in the winter.
Yeah, that's what I did, and I'm never coming back.
But you went and you just wore jeans, so that's bad on you.
Well, yeah, I was stupid.
Not the weather.
You can always count on me on being stupid.
Sí, ahí dicen que nunca se fue, nunca nos fuimos.
Oh, okay.
La
So you guys just
conversación.
probably heard us just frantically say, "Oh my God."
A ver.
So I think we're good. I think this is very Manet-ish. I think we're gonna be good for today. Maybe a little bit. Danny hates this. I always tell her I'm done, and then she comes in and I grab a brush.
How were you when you were in your 20s? Did you go
I had
out?
hair. I had a lot of hair. Not a lot. Let's not be,
Did you go out a lot? Because now
Yeah.
it gets complicated to meet up with people because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I used to go out a lot. Way more than I should have. Yeah. Way more drinking than I should have. But I was very responsible with everything that I had to do with school. Everything. You know, if I had homework or, you know, stuff to, paintings to paint, illustrations to do, I would always do them. And then every night we would go out and drink far more than we should. But Danny and I don't. I mean, it's not that we don't drink, but we just don't drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you answered.
Yeah. No. We're not opposed to drinking. We can drink. We've drank together.
But we just never do it.
But we just don't drink anymore. So. So yeah. But yeah, I used to do that. Yeah, but there was a lack of balance. So my life now is more about being a little more in balance, I feel.
What's your advice to improve your art? And what do you call a productive day in terms of art?
Productive day. Today was productive. You know, we hung out, we did a painting, because I'm gonna call it quits now. I think it's good. I think it's okay, the painting. So I had an intent today that I wanted to check out this palette, and we checked it out, and it proved to be a super, super nice palette. I mean, way, way more interesting than I anticipated it, because I don't know if I've painted with this particular combination. Maybe someone will correct me, and maybe I have, but learning about relationships that I could do with raw sienna and relationships that I could do with that red ochre, understanding my black. I love when I can use my black in my palette and really feel that I'm taking advantage of that, you know, as a color. It's gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous color. I love ivory black. I adore ivory black. So every time I get a chance to do that, to just examine it again and push it again, I feel so blessed. It's so amazing. So I don't know, that to me is productive. You know, I would feel super, super satisfied. Like, you know, for work purposes, we're gonna try to sell this painting because that's what we do. But I can tell you right now that I feel completely satisfied because I had this was a cool painting to paint. And honestly, I always kind of feel that at the end of the paintings that we do. And it's not because I'm a cool painter and I can do cool paintings. Like, no, of course not. It's just that I enjoyed it in some way, and it taught me something that I, wasn't expecting, and that to me is incredible. Like, I could go to bed right now and feel like that was a great day. That was an awesome day. And there are little things in the painting that I find super attractive that, I was happy because I wanted to do that. I don't know if you guys remember, if you heard me from the beginning, I wanted to do something with the sleeve, and I didn't know, and I thought that maybe making the head smaller would be a big sacrifice. I thought that maybe cutting the arm off to the side was a big sacrifice. And no, I cut that elbow off, I cropped it off, and it was fine. And I softened this edge because I don't want that to be super sharp that close to that edge, because that would create super tension. But I love that, that sleeve is cool. It feels like it's alive. I mean, it feels like a sleeve, but it feels like something else. So I kind of like that. I don't know, I like that little ear. In terms of color, I didn't do anything super weird because, the painting is it's so dry, to be honest. There's something so kind of 19th century about it, so dead about it, that I love, obviously. But I think that in terms of color, it was just about controlling, those areas, those tiny little areas of the palette, and that was it. But even that, those things that I'm describing are so fundamental, they're so formal, that when I look at it, when I look at the painting, it's like, yeah, that's cool. I have nice edge work in some places. There's open, areas. Like, I love how that sleeve sort of bleeds into the background there. I really like that soft edge here. I like that soft edge here also. The tip of the head is really cool. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I scraped the nose and then I didn't touch it again. I had that instinct that told me, don't do anything. Like those tiny little strokes that you did there, even though that kind of knife that goes down, that knife stroke that goes down doesn't really work perfectly well with his nose, with Manet's nose. I was like, immediately as I put it down, I was like, don't touch it. Don't, just leave it and just build your painting around it. So there's a ton of, little moments throughout the painting where I felt, okay, this is good, move to the next. That hand is terrible, but I gave it my best. I'm gonna take the L on that one, but it's open enough and it's like a big shape that it just doesn't bother me too much. But I think I could have done better. But I also didn't want like all of the attention there, so. But I don't know. It's just small triumphs, like tiny little things in the painting that can give you a sense of accomplishment, can do so much for you in your self-esteem that it's awesome. So yeah, I feel like that's, that was nice. It's a nice painting, nice texture here, with this bit of the chair that I straightened out a little bit because it actually came down at an angle, but it makes sense when you see the legs and when you see the whole, the rest of the chair. But for this bit of the painting, I was like, that's gonna look ridiculous, regardless of what I paint. So I straightened out a little bit, gave it a little bit of texture, kind of like dry brush, that, having raw paper allows me to do, because the paint sets in so quickly that it allows me to drag a dry brush on top of paint that has already sort of set in. So very happy. It's just about navigating a painting. I love that feeling of just knowing how every bit of my painting is behaving. So yeah, that to me is satisfying. So even if the painting wouldn't sell, that's not even in my mind right now. It's just, I'm just enjoying what I was able to paint today. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. That's a good day. Good day. Day would be perfect if there was a Liverpool match today and they won. Perfect. That would be perfection.
Sorry, they're saying they see a cat.
A cat. Let me see.
Wait,
Don't tell me where. Don't tell me where.
But not in the painting.
Not in the painting? Here?
Yeah.
Oh, let me see.
I'm trying to see it, but I don't see it.
That's the head?
It says, am I the only one who sees a cat on the bottom half?
Is that the
with
head?
With the black paint?
Is this like the bushy tail? Bushy tail, the head, kind of like, leaning.
No, porque se está tapado por la imagen de referencia.
Oh, no, no.
O sea, mira. Hasta acá se ve.
Where's the cat?
No sé.
No, I think it's just you then. Just you.
Pero alguien dice que sí.
Oh, somebody else saw it?
Sí.
Oh, where? I don't see it. I don't know. Here? Is it the bottom? Like that's the butt and then there's the head?
Porque dice black.
Oh, black cat.
No, black paint? Espera.
Black paint. I don't see it. No?
Sí, bueno, no importa.
Maybe. So, anyways, that's going to be the painting for today. Tomorrow, we're going to do another reference. Maybe we keep working with something that's black and white. Maybe I try to paint Danny or Fer or Samu.
It's a profile face, only the face.
Oh, this one.
I think a lot of people are seeing it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's that.
Just the face. But
yeah. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. We don't have cats, so, and I've never had a cat in my life, so.
The nose is pointing towards the painting.
Yeah, that's the nose, I'm guessing.
Sí, no sé.
Yeah, no. Well, I believe you. I trust you and believe you. But anyways, that's gonna be it. You guys should let us know, because this would be the sort of thing that we would do next year, in the sense that it would just be a little bit of hanging out, talking through painting. It would be kind of cool to solve exercises with you guys. It could be a little more formal also, because our Painted Lives has been kind of my process, in the sense that I kind of, navigate this road and I try to, take it to places that I don't feel comfortable with. But we can do days where we're, speaking about construction of a head or, formal stuff like that. We could change it up also. And just have cool conversations, I guess, just hang out. So if you guys like this kind of format, hopefully that's what we're going to be able to do next year. So it's far more laid back. Danny doesn't have to kill herself doing a ton of editing, and she can spend her time just doing her painting or her work that we're going to do for our conversation exchange. I don't even have a name for it. No, correspondence, visual correspondence.
No.
But visual correspondence sounds so formal, like so blah.
And it's just like a description. No?
Yeah, it's just, yeah, we have to find like a cooler name.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be like a really nice.
Maybe you can leave suggestions.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Think about it. You guys think about it, and maybe tomorrow we can discuss what the name could be, and maybe we can start figuring it out. That can totally help. So that's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I like the painting. It's a nice Manet. So if you guys like the painting, we're probably gonna put it up on our website in next couple of minutes. As always, never be ashamed. Always share your prices. Be open about them. We're always open about our prices. These are $250. You have to pay for shipping. It's always really good shipping. We are 100% on shipping because we ship it through FedEx, and you guys pay for it, obviously. So, but it's super quick and super efficient. And that's it. So if you're interested, you can check our storefront, which is our webpage, which is ourpaintedlives.com. You can also use lasagnacadaver.com. I don't publicize it that much, but lasagnacadaver.com will always redirect you to ourpaintedlives.com. And because I just buy stupid domain names on a whim, boiledghost.com will take you to ourpaintedlives.com. Why Boiled Ghost? I have no idea. I was looking at the description of a painting. ¿Te acuerdas qué pintura era? Yo no me acuerdo. No me acuerdo cuál era. I'm trying to remember which painting. It was a painting at the Tate website. So I forget which painting it was that I was searching for. And they described it as a boiled ghost. And I thought, okay, that's a t-shirt right there. That's a super cool name. And like an idiot, I bought it. I bought the domain name. So, it serves no purpose other than my own amusement. But just be cool with me. Do it for me. If you are going to go to our website, just type boiledghost.com or lasagna cadaver. And see what? Danny is testing it. I don't even. Yeah, Boiled Ghost is up. And lasagna cadaver for sure. Yeah, that's a classic. So. There we go. So that's going to be it. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time.
Yep.
So 1:30 p.m. Eastern. No, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time for you guys, and 1:30 p.m. for us. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for hanging out. That was awesome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.